Hey familia, it's Friday, you know what that means, it's time for another Custom Card Weekly. Last week I asked you to design a card that interacts somehow with your opponent's deck. Let's see what you came up with. First card here from Lorenzo, Mindleech Wraith, 4.42 for Shadowcraft. Shuffle 3 Enfeeble Curses into your opponent's deck. And I really just wanted to highlight this card because of the art you used for Enfeeble Curse. I just kind of find it hilarious that this leads into this. But this is for real kind of insane. Giving your opponent 1 less play point to play with, and they have to pay 5 play points to get rid of this card. I think it's a bit much. This one's from Husco Games, Grim Reminder, 2 play point Shadowcraft Amulet. A lot of Shadowcraft cards coming in. Each time your opponent destroys an allied follower, a skeleton is put into their deck. I freaking love this. I love the flavor. I love how it works. I think if Seraphic Blade didn't exist, this would be absolutely disgusting. Because putting dead draws into your opponent's deck and not letting them draw their good cards and giving them terrible 1/1s instead is amazing. Husco Games again with another one that I just love. How can you let everything become so cluttered? Such barbarism. Eleanor Gloria from the story mode. Runecraft Gold Follower, 7 play point 4/4. Fanfare. Organize your opponent's deck by cost from lowest to highest. That's so cool. It really screws over your opponent if they're trying to draw desperately into their impactful cards, if they're top decking, if they're trying to draw into their high cost win conditions. And Evolve gains +3 attack. Reduce the cost of odd play point cards in your hand by 1. So I just love this card. Man, Husco Games, 2 for 2. Alright, that's enough out of Twitter. Let's see what the Discord custom card channel came up with. Here's one from Nobi. Song of Stone, 4 play point bronze neutral spell. It does seem like it would be a blood card because it's Medusa in the card art, but regardless. Randomly put one of the highest cost cards from your opponent's deck into play, then give it can't attack. That is so cool. I don't know if it's ever going to be good because it's 4 play points to thin your opponent's deck, but it does clog up their board space. It could screw up their win condition if they're playing Chimera or something, which is pretty fun. But I just like the flavor of it a lot. From Tablet Pillow, got Explorer. Put a copy of the card that is on the top of your opponent's deck into your hand. I love this. I think Shadowverse actually needs more cards like this, I know it's a bit Clown Fiesta-y, and that's kind of what people don't like about other card games, but I think cards like this make the game interesting as long as they're not too competitive, right? Speaking of Clown Fiesta, here's one from Ryder. Arcane Experiments, 6 play point Runecraft Gold. Spell. Give both leaders the following effect. At the start of your turn, randomly put 2 of the following cards into your deck. Flame Rat, Guardian Golem, Clay Golem. This is one way to beat Spartacus, I suppose. The counter for Spartacus sword that nobody was asking for. Here's one from Draco, Lizard Hero Undo. 9 play point 5/3, pretty heavy. For Dragon. Fanfare, discard 10 cards from both players' decks. For each card that was a spell, deal 2 damage to both leaders. For each card that was a follower, restore 3 defense to both leaders. For each card that was an amulet, both players draw 1 card. Wow, that is nuts! I think this is it's a bit of a meme until Dragoncraft gets a card that adds cards to their deck. Then this becomes pretty real and kind of like a fun mill dragon win con. If Dragoncraft ever does get ways to add cards into their deck, this is a card that I'll definitely want to play with, that's for sure. Chiro here with Alchemist Laboratory, 4 play point Earth Sigil for Rune. Randomly transform 2 cards in your opponent's deck into an Earth Essence. Super good. Last words, restore 3 defense to your leader. Chiro, you're cheating. You know that the way to my heart is with controlling Earthright tools. From Red here, a really interesting card, Vampire Noble. Bloodcraft's 3 play point 2/2 gold. With Drain, at the start of your opponent's turn, if there is an even number of cards in their deck, evolve this card and deal 2 damage to both leaders. At the start of your opponent's turn on the evolved form, if there is an odd number of cards in the deck, devolve this card and summon a 1/1 bat. This is the first card I've seen that plays around with the idea of devolving, which I think is super sweet. Here's one from Roach, a Shadowcraft's 3 play point 3/1 bronze card, Shroud, Prophet, Callous. Ambush, whenever this follower attacks, shuffle a Messenger Crow into your opponent's deck. A 3 play point 3/1 ambush is pretty good if Shadowcraft ever becomes aggressive again. So I'm digging the support for that. And the Messenger Crow, 2 play point when drawn, reveal your hand to your opponent until the end of the turn. What a neat idea. So this guy's sending his little informants into the opponent's deck and then getting information from them. Really loving the creativity you guys are showing in this challenge. I mean, alongside creativity, you guys are also stepping up your shit posting jobs. El Pollo Loco here with R&D Team Member. For Portalcraft, 4 play point 3/4, put 2 Shudders into your deck. Evolve, your opponent mills the top 2 cards of their deck, and here's the Shredder. So yeah, like I said, you guys are really stepping it up in terms of both creativity and shitposting this time around. From Dark Claymore here, we have the anti-whale card. I don't know if this is the kind of direction that the game wants to be promoting in terms of whether or not you should run legendaries in your deck, but I appreciate the for the people sentiment. Here's one from Kira. Wipe from existence, banish an enemy follower or amulet, enhance 10, then banish all other cards with the same name from your opponent's hand, deck, and destroyed followers log. Finally! A way to counter reanimate. Here we have Zoran with Card Angel Ephemera, 5 play point 1/2. Ambush, fanfare, draw a card. Whenever you draw a card, swap it with a random card from your opponent's deck. God! I love this so much! It's clean, it's easy to understand, it's kind of Clown Fiesta-y, but it's not statted well enough to be a competitive card, so it's just a fun meme thing. Way big ups, and you even came up with all the lines for it. I'm pretty tired from working all day. Hey, what are you playing? That looks like lots of fun. Let me join in. God, that was awful. Maybe I shouldn't become a voice actor for female characters for a living. That's probably a career path I can cross out. Hey, I'm pretty good at this. I might just do this for a living instead. God, that is relatable. Finally, a card that speaks to me. Ephemera in attack position. I love that. That was a great match. Let's play again sometime. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. No BM. And of course, when you draw from the opponent's deck. You've activated my trap card. Love this card. From E220, we have Maqma Dragon for Dragoncraft, which banishes a random follower that costs 5 play points or less from the opponent's deck and then puts it into play as an enemy follower, and it can't attack the enemy leader. I like the idea behind this card, but I think giving it can't attack the enemy leader is a bit overkill, honestly. You're already thinning your opponent's deck. You're helping them get a threat on the board that they can take advantage of first before you can take advantage of Maqma Dragon unless you evolve Maqma Dragon, right? So I think it's okay for this thing to be able to swing face, but cool idea. From Calby here, Shadowcraft 4 play point 2/4 follower. Burial Rite, shuffle a copy of the follower destroyed by this effect into your opponent's deck. Whenever the shuffled follower is drawn, perform reanimate X. This value is equal to your turn number. It's neat in that it adds more consistency to your reanimates potentially, but it's not overpowered because you don't know really when they're gonna draw it. It's neat because you can shuffle a dud card into their deck, but it's also balanced out by this being a poorly statted follower for the cost that otherwise isn't doing very much. And it's also interesting because usually you want to be burial writing the big cards in your deck, and you don't really want to be giving your opponent such great threats, right? So overall, I think this card is kind of awesome. It kind of balances itself through the combination of all of its effects and stats without being convoluted. Here's Rasmus VJS with Hawn, Mystical Artist, 5.43 neutral follower. Randomly put one of the lowest cost followers from your opponent's deck into your hand. And evolve, randomly put one of the highest cost followers from your opponent's deck into your hand. I really dig this. Not only does it kind of balance itself in that it thins your opponent's deck, and your opponent can kind of consider that card to be at the bottom of their deck anyway, but at the same time, it's also a 5.43 pseudo draw card that gives you a resource, and it can also potentially mess up your opponent's game plan. So there's a lot of things going on here. I really like cards that let you do unorthodox things, like play cards from different classes. I don't know if you noticed that. I think it's something that Shadowverse is kind of lacking, and I always love when that kind of shenanigans can happen in a not overpowered way, but in a fun way. I will say though, that the one thing that does concern me about this card is the fact that it's neutral. I'm not sure if you want to be giving an effect like this to all the classes. It's almost too flavorful to be a neutral card, if that makes any sense. Actually, let's go back to Twitter for a quick second here. I just saw this from Asai Dekai. In debris and ash, I was buried. From debris and ash, I will purloin. Let's just hope your opponent isn't playing Spartacus or you're lucky enough to discard all 3 copies. Well, I like the flavor text a lot. I think it's super cool. I like the fact that you kind of gave an inkling as to what this card was all about with your description here, but you didn't actually attach an image. And I feel really bad, because it seems like you really put a lot of work into this, but kind of hard to talk about it if the image isn't attached, unfortunately. Here's one from Sami Zayn for life. Brock Lesnar, 6.42 neutral gold. Put 3 German suplexes into your opponent's deck, and the evolve is that both players draw 2 cards. And a German suplex is when this card is drawn, deal 3 damage to your leader. Okay, you got me. You got me. This is pretty good. And I think I'm just going to end it here. That's it for this episode of Custom Card Weekly. Thank you guys so much for your submissions. And don't worry, if you didn't make it in this week, there's always next week. And speaking of next week, your challenge for the next episode of Custom Card Weekly is to design a card that synergizes with tokens, but the catch is it has to be a token that already exists. So for Forest Craft, it'll be fairies. For Dragon Craft, it could be Megalorca. For Sword, Knights, and etc, etc. Same procedure as always to submit. Tweet at me with the hashtag that's on screen or post in the custom cards channel in my Discord server so that I can find your cards easier. Thanks for watching. Like the video if you did, don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Shadowverse content in the very near future. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with next week. And of course, thank you to my wonderful patrons, patreon.com/Ignideus. If you'd like to support the channel as well, I would highly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.